welcome to Southeast Asia News here on October 30th, 2015. I'm Mahina Smith.
I'm Tiffany Kanoa.
I'm Cami,
and we can't wait to tell you our stories tonight.
The three course concepts we will be discussing tonight fall under the categories of interdependence, development, and human rights.
First, we travel to Thailand, where we learn about Thailand's new submarine deal with China and what this says about their relationship to the U.S.
Next, we travel to Riau, where we learn about the forest fires that have left a lasting impact on all of Southeast Asia.
After that, we travel to Indonesia, where thousands of Rohingya refugees have landed after surviving the perilous journey from across the Andaman Sea in order to escape the threats of discrimination and persecution which they face at their home country of Myanmar.
On September 3rd, 2015, as you might have heard already, last June, Thailand announced that they were buying 3 submarines from China. The desire for submarines did not come as a surprise, seeing how they had been trying to acquire them since the 1990s. Though billion-dollar deal is yet to be finalized, the decisions behind the deal remain murky. This deal will enable Thailand to move into a new militarization era that it has lacked for more than 6 decades. Though some see it as something more between the countries, this transaction has been caught in the debate about Thailand's perceived drift away from the United States and towards China since the last coup. The decision to buy 3 submarines from China took many by surprise. A more seasoned ally, such as Germany or Sweden, would have been the obvious choice because of their past relationships. When asked questions, the Speaker of the House said, "The majority of members of the Submarine Procurement Committee voted for the Chinese submarines because they were of the best value."
As of September 30th, 2015, the world's oldest rainforest in Riau, which is west of Indonesia, was suffering through multiple forest fires. President Joko Widodo flew over to the fire site to extinguish it as promised, but the smoke was so thick the plane was unable to land. This left him with no choice but to return back to the capital in early October. Due to the dramatically dry conditions caused by El Nino, the smoke has traveled to Southeast Asia. The fire has placed a blanket over many countries of Southeast Asia, especially Indonesia. The haze has caused some schools to close and evacuations of some citizens' homes. The president has reacted to this event by threatening to punish certain plantation businesses who has burnt lands, as well as is sending soldiers in to assist in fighting the fires. The sooner the fires are put out, the quicker the haze will lift.
For the course concept of human rights, we will travel to Indonesia, where thousands of Rohingya refugees find themselves after surviving the treacherous journey through the Andaman Sea in order to escape discrimination and prosecution in their home country of Myanmar. On October 21st, a report documenting the human trafficking crisis within Southeast Asia was released by Amnesty International. The report, called Deadly Journeys, the Refugee and Trafficking Crisis in Southeast Asia, is comprised of testimonies given by over 100 refugees, most of them being children, who were fortunate enough to survive the treacherous journey. Despite this being a long-term issue, it is of particular relevance at this point of the year due to the ending of the monsoon, which had been previously active in areas of Southeast Asia. The ending of the monsoon makes seas safer to voyage and therefore opens up the possibility to a new sailing season for traffickers to transport an increasing amount of refugees across the Andaman Sea. With the released report, Amnesty International is calling for governments of neighboring countries in Southeast Asia to step up their efforts in order to resolve this human crisis. When a refugee commits to a voyage directed by human traffickers, they agree to a world of unbearably awful day-to-day abuse at the hands of human traffickers. The UN estimates that as many as 370 people or more lost their lives to this business from January to June of 2015. Rohingya refugees have testified to witnessing crew members kill or beat those whose families could not afford to pay the fee for the passage across the sea. The Rohingya are an ethnic group who face persecution in their home country, Myanmar, where they are subject to both discrimination and prosecution. They are denied citizenship under national law and therefore cannot be protected by the government. Since 2012, there has been an eruption of racially charged hate crimes against these people, forcing them into camps where they live in desperate conditions. Their final resort is to leave the country through illegal means. To sum things up, Thailand's purchase of submarines from China was an act which surprised the public and indicated what the future state of international relationships between Thailand and its more seasoned allies would be like. We should care because this act brings into question the military relationship between Thailand and the U.S.
This relates to the GP concept of interdependence, which is defined as the mutual reliance between or among groups. Sometimes these groups may have security relationships. In this case, it is military. Thailand is making a decision about who they will depend on in the future as a military ally after the coup.
The second story touched upon the forest fire crisis within Indonesia. This relates to the GP concept of development, or need of it, in order to alleviate the living conditions of the citizens in Southeast Asia. We should care because the fumes emitted by the fire directly affect public health and in turn also contribute to the climate change crisis around the world. The last story about the abuse of the Rohingya refugees relates to the GP concept of human rights, which is defined as the basic rights and entitlements that one should be given by virtue of being human. These refugees turn to the sea because they are given no other option to save them from the deprivation of human rights which they face in their home country. In doing so, they sacrifice violently more and more of their rights to the hands of traffickers who violate and abuse them for material profit. In order to solve this problem, the United Nations must be pressured to do more and directly intervene within the politics of the system that runs Myanmar and administer direct consequences to those who have deprived these refugees of their rights. We should care because what this government is doing is immoral, unjust, and an outright infraction of universal rights everywhere. We cannot be content with the state of our world, even if justice and peace is present where we live, because there are still those who are denied the most basic rights to this day.
Thank you for watching Southeast Asia News.